Hi everybody. In this series of videos, we're going to calculate Franklin Company's cost of goods sold and ending inventory under the 4 cost flow assumption methods. First in, first out, also known as FIFO. Last in, first out, also known as LIFO. Weighted average, also known as average cost, and specific identification. I'd like to show you a couple of really important calculations for Chapter 5. Beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale. And that makes sense. I had 10 pens on the shelf at the beginning. I purchased 5 more. I've got 15 pens available for sale. Although this is not in quantity as it is in dollar amounts for those inventories. So beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale minus the cost of ending inventory will calculate cost of goods sold. And that makes sense because if you've got goods available for sale and you subtract out the ones that you did not sell, that leaves the cost of the ones that you did sell. By the same token, beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale minus cost of goods sold will calculate ending inventory, and again that makes sense. If we have an amount of goods available for sale and you subtract from that the cost of the ones that you did sell, that will leave the cost of the ones that you did not sell. Very powerful formulas. So going back to our Franklin example, this is the data that we are given. On February 1st, 20X1, we had a beginning balance of inventory left over from January, 3 units at $5 each. So our beginning units of inventory cost us $15. We made 3 purchases during the month, and we made 2 sales during the month. Let's take a look at the purchases because in our other formulas, beginning inventories plus purchases equals goods available for sale. And I want to calculate the amount of goods available for sale throughout the entire month. So on February 3rd, we purchased 5 at a cost of $7 each. That's $35. On February 8th, we purchased 2 at a cost of $8 each. That's an additional $16 of cost. And on February 20th, we purchased 6 at a cost of $10 each. That's an additional $60. Beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale for the entire month of $126. That is not going to help us calculate ending inventory and cost of goods sold for FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, or specific identification. But what it will do is provide a check figure by using the formulas that we just talked about. So let's calculate cost of goods sold for the month of February and the cost of ending inventory as of February 28th using the following cost flow assumptions. Let's start out with FIFO, first in, first out. Under the FIFO cost flow assumption, we are going to assume that the cost of the oldest items is the cost of the items that we sold. It is not an actual flow of goods, but it is a flow of the cost of those goods. So each one of these big blocks is going to hold one transaction. Let's start out by putting the beginning balance in the first block. 21X1, beginning balance. No cost of goods sold because we didn't sell anything. 3 units at $5 each for a total cost of $15. Now the next transaction that happened was on February 3rd, and we purchased 5 more units at a cost of $7 each. The math in Chapter 5 is extremely easy. The concepts in Chapter 5 is extremely easy. Where students go wrong is they get lost in a massive information. So it's extremely important to work in a very organized manner for Chapter 5. And one of the things you want to do is to keep your layers of inventory in chronological order with the oldest on top. In order to do that and to stay organized, I am going to transfer my beginning balance of inventory down to the next block before I record the newer inventory that's purchased. Let me show you what I mean. I brought these 3 units of the oldest inventory down to the new block. Now I can completely ignore everything in these 2 columns above the newest block that I'm working with. Then I put in the date and the quantity and price of the new items that were purchased. 5 at 7 is $35 for a total cost of inventory after this purchase of $50. And I'm organized. The oldest inventory that I owned is listed first, and the newest inventory that I owned is listed next. I'm staying organized. Now, the next transaction that happened is we sold 4 units. We need to figure out the cost under FIFO of those 4 units that we sold. FIFO means first in, first out. We are making an assumption that the cost of the oldest units attaches itself to the items that were sold. So I sold 4 units here, and we're going to apply the oldest costs first. Of those 4 units, 3 that we sold had a cost of $5, and 1 of them that we sold had a cost of $7. I'm eating up the oldest layer and taking 1 out of the newest layer. Let me show you how it looks. February 7th, sold 4 units. Now we do have cost of goods sold. Anytime you sell units, you have a cost of the sale of those units. 3 out of the oldest layer is $15, and 1 out of the newest layer is $7. So the cost of goods sold for the 4 units that were sold under FIFO was $22. The next thing we have to do is to record the inventory that we have after this sale. Under the FIFO cost flow assumption, we took the cost of all the oldest items away. This whole layer is gone. And we took 1 unit out of this layer. So that leaves 4 items unsold from the $7 layer. 4 7s are $28. Now I want to remind you of the formulas we talked about on the first page, because this is really cool. We said that goods available for sale minus ending inventory equals cost of goods sold. And we also said that goods available for sale minus cost of goods sold equals ending inventory. So what we're saying there is we have a bunch of goods that are available for sale. We either sold them and transferred the cost into cost of goods sold, or we did not sell them and left the cost in inventory. So given this piece of information, we can flip this upside down And this also would be true. Ending inventory plus cost of goods sold has to equal goods available for sale. Again, a very powerful check for our work. If ending inventory plus cost of goods sold equals goods available for sale, and we had $50 worth of inventory available for sale before this sale, then if we did our math right, 22 cost of goods sold plus 28 ending inventory has to equal 50. Does it? Yes. Ending inventory plus cost of goods sold does equal goods available for sale immediately before this sale. Isn't that cool? Very powerful formulas. Now, to stay organized, whenever you purchase new units, always bring your old units down to the new box. You always want to organize your inventory from the oldest to the newest. So what happened next was on February 8th, we purchased 2 units at $8 each. Bring the old inventory down and then purchase 2 units at $8 each. And this is what it looks like. I brought the old layer down. That means I can forget about everything above this block in these 2 columns. Then we purchased 2 units at $8 each for an additional layer of $16 worth of inventory, for a total of $44 worth of inventory available for sale at that point. Why don't you go ahead, bring these 2 pieces, don't bring the total down, but just these 2 pieces of inventory down to the next box, and then add the purchase on April 20th. When you finish, start the video again and check your work. Did you get a total of $104 of inventory available for sale after the February 20th purchase? That is the 2 oldest layers brought down, plus 6 units at a cost of $10 each for an additional $60. Add that up and we have $104 of goods available for sale after the February 20th purchase. And the last thing that happened during the month was on February 28th, we sold 3 units. Again, when you make a sale, you do not need to bring your inventory down first. Make the sale, then put the inventory that was left over after that sale. Go ahead and calculate the cost of goods sold for the sale on February 28th and the cost of inventory after that sale. Then start the video again to check your work. 3 units were sold on February 28th. Under FIFO, we assume that the cost of the oldest units, first in, first out, the oldest units associate with the sale. So 3 were sold at the oldest cost of $7, and there's enough in this layer to take all of the 3 units out of this layer. So 3 sevens or $21 is the cost of goods sold as on the February 28th sale under FIFO. And our inventory after this sale then, we used the cost of 3 items in this layer. It leaves the cost of just 1 item left for $7. And then neither of these layers were touched. So 2 at $8 is $16, and 6 at $10 is $60, leaves $83 of ending inventory and goods available for sale after the February 28th sale. Now let's do a check. FIFO cost of goods sold for the month of February. There were only 2 sales. The cost of goods sold for the first one was $22, and the cost of goods sold for the second sale was $21. So cost of goods sold for the month of February was 22 plus 21, or 43. FIFO ending inventory is right here, $83. Now, the proof. Does the cost of goods sold plus the ending inventory equal the goods available for sale for the entire month? $43 plus 83 equals 126. And what was the goods available for sale for the entire month? 126. That doesn't mean that there wasn't some sort of error. There could be an error, but it's probably unlikely to be a math error. So that is calculating Franklin's cost of goods sold and ending inventory for the month of February using FIFO, first in, first out. Well, that's all for this video. When we come back, we'll do the same thing using LIFO.